filming a world of magic can be seriously tough in our world. From almost drowning to facing their worst fears to some very nasty injuries, the Harry Potter actors endured a whole lot of struggle. So let's check out which scenes were some of the most difficult to film over the years.
Was the most horrifying thing either of us.
But before we dive in, you should probably subscribe to our new channel, The Things Animated, to get all the hidden secrets and unique theories behind your favorite animated movies and shows. Number 1. Well, torture is never really supposed to be fun, so
I couldn't stop crying.
Even when you're acting opposite someone as incredible as Helena Bonham Carter, being tortured in a scene is a real challenge. Watson shared that it was quite horrible to do. The actress reacted so intensely that she actually made the Bellatrix actress and director David Yates feel uncomfortable. Number 2. Word of advice: pass on any challenges that involve being underwater. Everyone knew filming this part of the Triwizard Tournament would be a challenge. Dan Radcliffe did some solid training time in the pool with professional divers to prepare for filming, but he was definitely no expert. Meaning at times, he forgot what hand signals meant what. Communication underwater has to be done physically, so when the dive team saw the actor giving the "help me" signal, they freaked out, worrying that Dan was drowning.
This confused me.
Luckily, the actor wasn't in danger, meaning to signal to everyone that he was actually A-okay. However, by the end of it all, Radcliffe had spent 41 hours under very cold water. He was lucky the worst he wound up with was just 2 ear infections.
The main thing that really sort of was a bit frustrating.
Number 3. The room of requirement couldn't be everything for everyone all the time. Unfortunately for Bonnie Wright, this room full of magic and power was really tough to work in because of how claustrophobic she was left feeling. With Dumbledore's army being so big, there was always a crowd, and being confined into such a small space left Wright really struggling. Her on-screen brothers weren't such big fans of the room either. The Phelps twins struggled with how much heat the fireplaces throughout the room emitted, making for some seriously sweaty actors in all those warm sweaters.
I've never told anyone this, but I hated the room requirement set.
Number 4. Her character definitely wouldn't have felt this way. Imelda Staunton really is a great actress. We'd never have believed that she actually felt awful when torturing Radcliffe. The always evil character was the furthest thing away from who Staunton was, and the actress admitted that filming those scenes was a real struggle for her, calling it horrible and unpleasant. Poor Staunton was left feeling guilty for days after the fact whenever she had to go full evil.
You know, the scene where she gives him the detention was uncomfortable for me.
Number 5. This was a doozy. Cedric losing his life is very sad, but it looks fairly simple technically. The truth is, though, Pattinson suffered during filming because of the stunt he had to do for it. The actor was set up with some wires wrapped around his groin area that would allow him to roll once hit with the unforgivable curse. Let's just say our Pats was very happy when the final cut was called. Number 6. Even his co-stars were shocked he took on a stunt this big. Radcliffe had proven he could take on some stunts himself and perform to the caliber needed safely, so by the time the Goblet of Fire came around, he wanted to amp it up, signing on to perform the big slide down the roof of Hogwarts for the cameras. Sure, he wasn't really on the roof of a castle, but the set that was created did leave him with a 40-foot jump on wires, and it still looks pretty terrifying.
I will never be allowed to do something like that again.
Number 7. When there are 7 Harrys, things get tricky. We'd think that the fact that Radcliffe was the only one actually acting out the scene when he played the rest of his crew disguised as himself would make things easier. But it was straight up tough and kind of endless. It took a whopping 95 takes to capture all the action properly, since Radcliffe had to act out the scene over and over again, playing each different part. It was time-consuming, but oh so worth it in the end. Number 8. Emma wasn't shy about how much she detested this experience. Yes, I can tell you the worst right now. It was on movie number 2, we get dropped by a dragon into the lake. And Rupert wasn't so crazy about it either, considering he thought his heart stopped beating from the cold. It was the middle of winter, and the water they were in wasn't heated, and they couldn't wear any extra layers since they had to change out of their wet clothes so quickly after. Out of the trio, Watson was the only one to have the help of thermal pants. Number 9. Ugh, this part always makes us cry. Sirius's untimely end remains one of the top worst losses in the whole franchise, in part because of Radcliffe's heart-wrenching performance. This was the scream so blood-curdling and guttural that the team couldn't even include it in the film. It had Helena Bonham Carter and Emma Watson in bits, so we can only imagine how brutal it was for Dan in the moment, especially since he lost such a close family member around the same time. Number 10. It sounds like a party, but Emma Watson wasn't a fan. Let's face it, kissing someone who's like a brother is tough. Doing it twice? Well, that's just not fair. To make it all worse, when Emma and Dan Radcliffe got together to smooch, the two of them really got stripped down, and neither one was expecting it. Watson shared that, "It was the weirdest thing ever, and they only told us about the silver body paint the day before." Watson has been nothing but honest about the experience, explaining that, "It was awkward enough as it was without the silver paint and the strapless bra, but whatever. It looks good for the story." As for kissing Rupert, the actress was fully clothed, but it was still tremendously tough to get through, especially because the two had such a hard time staying in character. Emma expressed her frustration, saying, "It was supposed to be that dramatic kiss, but Rupert and I continued to laugh. I was really worried that we'd never get that scene because we just couldn't take it seriously." Number 11. Animals are cute until you work with them. If any of the actors were fans of monkeys or bats before, they definitely weren't after filming with them. The monkeys couldn't keep calm and were harder to wrangle than the young kids, and some got a bit explicit on set. And Grint had a terrible time when filming with the bats, since one of them decided to do its business on him. Yeah, that ain't cute. Number 12. The spider is huge. Rupert Grint was Ron Weasley in almost every way, including the fact that they both suffered pretty serious arachnophobia. The Chamber of Secrets was unquestionably the actor's nightmare. Aragog was portrayed by a giant, creepy animatronic puppet that looked real enough to leave Grint shaking in his boots. He even called them the scariest scenes to film. Even when they weren't filming, the presence of Aragog on set just gave Rupert the creeps. Number 13. It definitely worked in this case. Professor Snape. Love him or hate him, Alan Rickman gave a stellar performance, and that was partially thanks to method acting. The actor kept in character whenever he was filming on set, so the first scene he filmed with the kids wound up being a real challenge for them. While Rickman definitely didn't mean to, he intimidated some of the young actors so much that they really struggled to focus. We'd be nervous too. Luckily, that quickly went away once they spent some time together off camera, and they saw that smile we all love. Number 14. Fans of the books, remember him? The character didn't make it into the movie, but Rick Mayall had actually been on set and gave a very memorable performance. So why have we never seen it? Well, the actor did such a wonderful job that he caused the young actors to giggle endlessly. And remember, this was for the very first movie, so these kids giggling too long could lead to serious delays in production. They tried filming with the actors back to the kids and with him across the room, but he was just too hilarious every time. Director Christopher Columbus wound up not liking the look in the end, so he just cut the character. Harsh. Number 15. It's fun, but complicated. The high-flying sport never existed before it was written into Harry Potter, so JK went on to create a full, detailed rulebook so the production team could make sense of what it was, how to play, and then film it in a way that would captivate audiences. After all, no one wants to be watching these kids flying around on broomsticks if we have no idea why Harry was so obsessed with finding that golden flying ball, aka the snitch. Their production designer Stuart Craig was the one who took on the daunting task of creating what the pitch would look like, and his design worked like a charm. In the later films, Quidditch became some of the most brutal scenes to film since those broomsticks were not comfortable at all, even with the modifications made to try and give the actors an actual seat to sit on. Oh, and we can't forget, Rupert Grint also got a quaffle to the face at one point. That's gotta hurt. Number 16. They loved it so much they filmed it twice. Okay, well that wasn't the reason. The production team was forced to reshoot the entire epilogue scene because the first time around, everything was way too rushed and chaotic, especially for such an important moment. All the actors felt really bittersweet, seeing each other looking aged, and knowing this would be the final scene of the franchise. Well, we get teary-eyed just thinking about it. Number 17. Who left the food out? For a team that was usually thinking about everything, it's pretty surprising that no one would have realized what would happen to the real food they filmed with for days on days under super hot lights. The foul-smelling set made filming a total drag for everyone who was close enough to smell the stench, and by the time they got rid of it, that smell was seeping out of the Great Hall. The actors may have been chowing down on real food for the first day, but no one was taking any more bites once their plates were filled with rotten food. A nasty sight for them, a tasty one for us. Number 18. Dan says it best.
We were very much just like kids being kids on a set.
Filming the early movies, especially the very first one, was an absolute dream for the child actors, but for the adults involved, well, it could be a bit of a nightmare, since filming anything with a big group was extremely difficult with children who were distracted by the magic of it all and each other.
Big problem was like throughout a take, our attention would wane and come and go.
But it was pretty sweet to see how much the little ones enjoyed it.
Where they were just so happy to be in a Harry Potter film that they couldn't contain their excitement.
They laughed, they cried, they got some serious injuries, and had some very emotional days. But they made some pretty special memories, and of course, very special movies in the process. Would you have wanted to experience filming any of these scenes?